for the first time, Turkey bombs ISIS targets in Syria. But does it have an ulterior motive for stepping into the conflict? Welcome back. Turkey stepped into the war against ISIS this week. Warplanes bombed ISIS targets in Syria, but they're also targeting Kurdish camps in northern Iraq. Turkey has been fighting Kurdish rebels for more than 30 years. Some of them are linked to Peshmerga fighters taking on ISIS. It's all part of the confused and conflicted history of the region. Recently, CBN's George Thomas spoke with Merve Tahiroglu of the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies about the emerging conflict between Turkey and the Kurds.
Why has the Turks suddenly decided to jump into the fight against ISIS?
So the official reason for it is last Monday's terrorist attack. There was an ISIS-linked suicide bombing in Turkey. It killed 32 people and wounded over 100. And that's the official reason for why Turkey is now entering officially the war against ISIS. But there's also the fear of the Kurds in Syria making too much territorial gain along Turkey's border. And they think that the Kurds are going to be the next one fighting ISIS in Jarablus, across the last territory that ISIS has left outside of Turkey's border, and they're worried that if Turkey doesn't step up its own fight against ISIS and clear that area of ISIS itself, the Kurds are going to do it and have a continuous territory along right across from Turkey's border.
Okay, so the Turks here, let me get this right, they aren't only going after ISIS, but now they're also bombing Kurdish fighters, the so-called PKK group, who have incidentally been helping the US fight ISIS. So now the Turks are fighting both sides of the same war.
From Turkey's perspective, from Ankara's perspective, they're both equally a threat to Turkey. So it makes sense for Turkey to want to fight them both, but it does present a conundrum for the anti-ISIS coalition led by the United States, because, as you mentioned, the Kurds are the most effective force on the ground fighting ISIS.
Kurds have long sought an independent state, and are their recent territorial gains only fueling those aspirations, and as a result are the Turks afraid of this happening? Because you do have a large population of Kurds in Turkey, Syria, as well as Iraq.
Yes, and they're very near each other too. So you have a very large Kurdish population inside Turkey, right, along the borders of Iraq and Syria. If the Kurds have Jarablus, this area in which Turkey wants to create the safe zone, then you would see that along Turkey's border, their territories, the Kurdish territories, Kobani, Tel Abyad, with Jarablus would now be connected, and you would have a contiguous strip of Kurdish controlled strip right outside of the border. That is what's fueling this fear that Turkey has of the PYD gaining more territory.
And I'm curious, Merve, how are Kurds in Turkey responding to this? I mean, do you see that perhaps the Kurds might try to launch, those within the country, within Turkey, some kind of assault, some kind of attacks on the streets of Istanbul?
In terms of a big attack in a place like Istanbul, I think we should be worried about ISIS. Right. ISIS actually has nothing to lose. ISIS has networks inside Turkey, and Turkey is now declaring open war against ISIS. So I think that blowback is going to be much worse. Turkish territory, the Turkish border with Syria has been the primary place through which foreign fighters have been going into Syria and joining ISIS. Oil smuggling has been taking place through this border, which has probably made ISIS billions of dollars. I mean, we see the figures are disputed, but it has absolutely made them money. And so both financially, in terms of manpower, Turkey has allowed ISIS to grow. So it wasn't just that Turkey didn't join the fight actively against ISIS. It also turned a blind eye to ISIS activities along its border that actually helped the organization grow.
Making this all even more complicated is the fact that Western intelligence now believes there's a link between Turkey and ISIS. What are the implications for U.S.-Turkey relations as a result of that?
What we're seeing is that, yes, there have been, the USB drive that was recently recovered showed reportedly that Ankara has been linked to ISIS. Well, look, I think it's normal for a group like ISIS to have some sort of contact with Turkey. We need to look at how far does that contact extend? Does it go into cooperation, or is it just about, okay, you have my hostages, how are we going to secure that? Is it merely just communication? I think that's a question that needs to be resolved. But Turkey now joining the fight actively against ISIS, joining the anti-ISIS coalition, is also going to appease those questions, right? Because saying, look, stop accusing me of having a contact with this group, I'm now actively bombing this group with you.
Merve, thank you so much. Merve is with the group out of Washington, D.C., Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Thank you so much for shedding some insight on this very, very complicated mess in the heart of the Middle East. Thanks for joining us on the broadcast.
Thank you.